Welcome back to the channel, everybody. It's your host, Harley, with Awful Talk. Today we're getting into how Florida declared U.S. Muslim civil rights group domestic terrorists. Did Minnesota Tim Walz actually jail, or at least his administration, whether or not they jailed fraud suspects? We're going to talk about Kansas man charged with election fraud, and who that is going to blow your mind. Yep, you heard it. You heard it. Florida declares U.S. Muslim civil rights group a foreign terrorist organization. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Let's go to the TV. Today, this was just released. Ron DeSantis, legally dubious order designating CAIR, C-A-I-R, and Muslim Brotherhood. Follow similar move by Texas. So Florida is declaring, so this isn't the federal government, this is Florida, right? Which is interesting enough because I don't know that they have the power to do this. I really don't. But Florida is declaring the Council on American Islamic Relations, CAIR, a U.S. civil rights and liberties group, a foreign terrorist organization. The Republican governor, Ron DeSantis, announced on Monday. The move closely follows a similar order issued in November by Texas Governor Greg Abbott. DeSantis, fellow Republican, even though only the federal government can designate terrorist organizations, just like what I was just saying. CAIR and its supporters are among those who have dismissed the orders from DeSantis and Abbott as Islamophobia. Come on.
There is this wonderful word that has a great meaning, and it's called hypothesis.
Hypothesis. In a statement, the national and Florida CAIR chapters described DeSantis' order as a stunt and accused him of signing a defamatory and unconstitutional order, baselessly smearing them. The groups vowed to sue Florida as it has Texas, where Abbott has directed law enforcement officials to investigate whether a group in Dallas is operating courts under Sharia law. Governor DeSantis knows full well that CAIR Florida is an American civil rights organization that has spent decades advancing free speech, religious freedom, and justice for all, including for the people of Palestine, the group said in a statement. I'll say this. So this organization is based in Washington, D.C., right? They have their main, not-for-profit in Washington, D.C. All these other sects of this nonprofit, right, exist in all these other states. However, their main tax filing on the federal level out of their organization in Washington, D.C. has not filed taxes since 22. So it is possible that they will get a designation from the IRS that they are no longer qualified as a not-for-profit. And if they don't do something about that, I think don't quote me to this and don't hold me to this, but I think they have 4 years, something like that, 4 or 5 years. If they don't file those taxes, they're done. So DeSantis said the executive order naming CAIR one of the nation's largest Muslim advocacy groups was effective immediately. His order also targets the Muslim Brotherhood, and a transnational Islamist group founded in 1928. Neither the Muslim Brotherhood nor CAIR are on the U.S. government's list of designated FTO groups. So again, this is Florida and Texas, right? Not the federal government. Nonetheless, Florida agencies are hereby directed to undertake all lawful measures to prevent unlawful activities by these organizations, including denying privileges or resources to anyone providing material support, DeSantis said in a statement on X. The order said CAIR was founded by persons connected to the Muslim Brotherhood, which it connects to Hamas on the 7 October 2023 attack on Israel. CAIR denies ties to Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood. CAIR's Florida and national chapters said DeSantis, through his order, had prioritized serving the Israeli government over serving the people of Florida and of diverting millions in Florida taxpayer dollars to the Israeli government bonds. DeSantis and Abbott, it added, want to smear and silence Americans, especially American Muslims, who criticize the U.S. support for Israel's war in Gaza. In a separate statement on X, DeSantis said that members of the Florida legislature are crafting legislation to stop the creep of Sharia law. And I hope that they codify these protections for Floridians against CAIR and the Muslim Brotherhood in their legislation. Abbott's order in Texas prohibited CAIR and the Muslim Brotherhood from acquiring property in the state and authorizing legal action to shut down affiliated entities. CAIR sent a letter to Abbott in November saying it has spent 30 years vocally speaking up against all forms of bigotry, including anti-black racism, Islamophobia, and anti-Palestinian racism and anti-Semitism, as well as all forms of unjust violence, including hate crimes, ethnic cleansing, genocide, and terrorism. Well, guess what? CAIR responds. Let's go to the TV and watch it.
We'll check back with you, Courtney. Thank you so much. Well, new developments unfolding this morning in a major move by Governor Ron DeSantis. He has now designated the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR, and the Muslim Brotherhood as foreign terrorist organizations. CAIR is now threatening to sue the governor.
Take that towel off of your head. Hey. Take that towel off of your head.
You may remember just weeks ago in Tampa, this disturbing video at the University of South Florida went viral. Muslim students in a prayer session on campus as three people yell in their faces. The people involved are now charged with felonies. Now, at the time, CAIR condemned the attacks. They generally take the lead here in Florida and speak up for Muslim American rights. And now the group says this new terrorist organization designation, like the harassment in this video, is yet another way to smear and silence Muslim Americans. 10 Tampa Bay News reporter Asha Patel live for us this morning in Tampa. Asha, the label of foreign terrorist organizations, it's a serious one. What does this actually mean, though, for these civil rights groups and anybody who financially supports them?
Good morning, Jameson. Yeah, so this new order means to state agencies to block the two groups or anyone that supports them from getting state contracts, jobs, or funding. Now, I want you guys to take a look at your screen. These three key points really breaks down what this all means. Florida's new designation doesn't just target CAIR. It puts pressure on any group that has worked with or supported the organization under the order. Those allies could lose access to state contracts, funding, or even public sector jobs. And for many community and advocacy groups, it means reevaluating partnerships or risks of being cut off from key state resources. Now on your screen, you're seeing CAIR's direct response, saying, quote, Governor DeSantis is targeting our civil rights group with this unconstitutional and defamatory proclamation. Now, CAIR also fired back with a clear message to the state, saying, quote, see you in court. Now, we're following this story closely, and we'll be sure to give you the latest updates. But for now, I'm reporting live in Tampa. Asha Patel, 10 Tampa Bay News.
Asha, thank you. Ron DeSantis is not the first governor to label the groups as a terrorist organization. Just last month, Texas Governor Greg Abbott tried to do the same thing. CAIR asked a federal judge to strike down that proclamation, saying in a lawsuit the label is unconstitutional. The court ultimately sided with the Muslim group.
Yeah, and in my personal perspective, right, we do have freedom of religion here in the United States under the Constitution, which we should, and 100%, right? Everybody should be protected in that. Now here's
This is the quickest way to clear.
Excuse me. Now here's my problem, right? Is unfortunately, when people come in and tell you what you need to believe and what you have to believe, right? That's when those rights are no longer apparent. So, building cities within our country, which was founded on Christian principles, and trying to impose certain things like Sharia law in those communities. Now that's actually a pretty big problem in my personal opinion. And I'm not xenophobic. I'm not Islamophobic. I have Muslim friends. So anybody who wants to say that I am, we can refute that right away. The fact of the matter is, when you impose your beliefs on others, right, in an extreme way, then you're going to get a response similar to, what we're seeing here. Next up, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz recently placed questions about a state fraud scandal involving Somalis that spawned a feud between him and President Donald Trump. You've probably seen a lot about that. But WRAL News did a fact check. Did Minnesota Walz jail suspects, or did Minnesota's Governor Walz jail suspects in Feeding Our Future fraud case? I would say absolutely not. And the fact that he was on NBC saying that they did is an outright and absolute 100% lie.
A Minnesota nonprofit.
Let's go to the TV.
Is facing allegations that it pocketed money that was supposed to be spent on impoverished children.
Former vice presidential candidate Tim Walz, the state's governor, says his office deserves credit for rooting out the alleged fraud. Paul Spade checks that claim for PolitiFact.
Have you heard about a case in Minnesota involving a group called Feeding Our Future? Well, it's a nonprofit group that for years received federal funding to provide meals to impoverished children. And federal prosecutors have accused the group of operating what they call the largest COVID-19 fraud scheme in the nation. Now, this press release is from back in 2022 when the Biden administration brought charges against 47 people. And the crackdown continues to this day.
Because, again, this has been going on for a long time, and people try to say, hey, this is happening. Can we do something about this? And now it's just coming out. Now it's finally getting national headlines. Now, finally, they're doing something about it. And thankfully, under the Trump administration, we have the federal authorities now stepping in and willing to hold these people accountable. Whereas under Tim Walz, there was reports of this stuff happening, yet they weren't doing anything about it.
Last month, the Trump administration announced it had charged now 78 people in this case. Now,
78.
Former vice presidential candidate Tim Walz, he's been Minnesota's governor for years. And on NBC's Meet the Press, he was asked about this scandal.
Do you take responsibility for failing to stop this fraud in your state?
Well, certainly I take responsibility for putting people in jail.
Look, I think the man's a grossly incompetent man.
Hey, congratulations. Congratulations. Stealing credit when credit isn't due, that's not good.
Governors don't get to just talk theoretically. We have to solve problems.
Did Walz really put people in jail in this case? No. While state agencies cooperated, the investigation and the prosecutions have been led by the federal government. The New York Times recently wrote about how the alleged fraud, quote, swamped Minnesota's social services system under the governor's watch. And a report by Minnesota's legislative auditor said oversight by the state's Department of Education was so lacking that it created opportunities for fraud. The report also said the department did not exercise its authority to hold the program accountable. All of this is why the Truth Meter rates Walz's claim false. Read more about this at WRAL.com.
Of course. And of course. Right? On the Truthometer, they say that claim that he made is absolutely false.
A Minnesota nonprofit.
And I totally agree. Totally 100% agree. He could say what he wants. But it doesn't make it true. Just because you believe something doesn't mean that it's true, right? So now we're moving on to Minnesota officials saw signs of massive fraud even before COVID. And this is my point. Let's go to the TV. In July 2019, Minnesota state officials spotted early signs of fraud that would eventually siphon away more than $1 billion in taxpayer money. Now we're talking more, somewhere around the lines of $8 billion. But they quickly faced pressure from leaders of the charitable group Feeding Our Future to stop asking questions. According to multiple former employees of the Minnesota Department of Education, the scandal, which has already led to 61 convictions, has widely been viewed as a byproduct of the COVID-19 pandemic. At one point, then Attorney General Merrick Garland called it the largest pandemic relief fraud scheme in the United States. Acting U.S. Attorney Lisa D. Kirkpatrick said those convicted took advantage of the COVID-19 pandemic to carry out a massive fraud scheme that stole money meant to feed children. But state officials say the schemes aimed at diverting federal dollars meant for people who are poor, food insecure, or disabled actually started far sooner, months after Minnesota's Democratic Governor Tim Walz took office in 2019. In its early stages, members of the charitable group Feeding Our Future billed the state for some $3.4 million. By 2021, however, that number ballooned before it was finally halted. Feeding Our Future had falsely claimed to have served 91 million meals, for which the group received nearly $250 million in federal funds. According to the federal prosecutors, the money did not go to feed kids. Federal officials said instead it was used to fund lavish lifestyles. Investigators say that the money came from the U.S. Department of Agriculture with oversight from state governments. In Minnesota, those funds were administered by the State Department of Education, with meals historically provided to kids through schools and daycare centers. In recent weeks, renewed attention to the scandal has been focused on the state's failure to identify and halt the theft before it spun out of control. And it absolutely has. 100% it has. And Tim Walz, he's not doing a wonderful job, and rightfully so. You know, the left really love their big government. They really love, getting this extra money and just expanding the government and going nowhere with what it's intended for. Just be real. Now let's move on. Kansas man charged with election fraud resigns his position as mayor. Hold on. What? What did we just say? Kansas man charged with election fraud resigns his position as mayor. This was back from, this is actually today, 7 a.m. this morning, Topeka. Sorry if I botched the guy's name. Joe Sabalos, a Kansas man who made national news after being charged with voting illegally, resigned his position as mayor of Coldwater. Come on, guys. The Coldwater City Council announced Monday that it had accepted Sabalos' resignation. We will continue with the daily work of the city, ensuring that all services and operations move forward without interruption. A statement said, our priority is keeping the community informed and maintaining stability during this transition. So tell me, how does a mayor get charged with that? That just doesn't make sense, right? I mean, you would think, maybe they're doing something I would never think of, right? Let's go back here. The council swore in Britt Leonard's, president of the city council, as the town's mayor. She will serve out the rest of his term. Sabalos was elected to his second term as mayor one day before Kansas Attorney General announced at a November news conference that he had been arrested for multiple felonies. Sabalos has a green card, allegedly, which means he is a legal permanent resident in the United States, but did not apply for citizenship until February, according to the United States Department of Homeland Security. Which, I mean, If you're not a citizen in the United States, how can you vote? Well, let's back up. I'm surprised. I could only imagine how liberal this city is because, quite frankly, how does a mayor get elected as an illegal immigrant? I mean, technically, I don't know. That's wishy-washy. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but he didn't have citizen. He wasn't a citizen. Definitely wasn't a citizen. He had a green card. He could work, but he's not a citizen of the United States. And no wonder why. No wonder why the America First movement is growing, and no wonder why some of these people don't want to put America first. I mean, that's huge. Huge. Okay? You know, and I just don't get it. And maybe because I'm on this side, and this guy's a Republican. He's a self-proclaimed Republican, apparently, allegedly. DHS shores up case against the mayor accused of voting illegally 3 times. Think about that. A mayor illegally voting 3 times. A new report from the Department of Homeland Security provided documents to bolster the case against a city mayor from Kansas accused of committing voter fraud while residing in the U.S. as a green card immigrant. Newsweek reached out to the Coldwater mayor's office via email on Friday evening outside normal business hours for comment. Voter fraud has remained an issue of significant focus after President Donald Trump and his allies claimed widespread fraud in the 2020 presidential election, alleging that such issues were the cause of his defeat. So DHS on Thursday showed documents related to the charges brought against Joe, we'll call him Joe, 54, who won re-election as mayor of Coldwater this month. Kansas Attorney General Chris Kobach on November 5th announced he had filed charges against Sebelius with 3 counts of voting without being qualified and 3 counts of election perjury. Just think about that. And Homeland Security, so DHS, this Homeland Security website, DHS reveals new records of criminal alien who voted multiple times in Kansas elections. From Washington, the Department of Homeland Security revealed more voting records from him, an alien from Mexico who committed several felonies while he illegally voted in numerous elections in the United States. A felony. Are you kidding me? This just gets better and better. You know, because this isn't the first time that he broke our nation's laws. According to this report, it's not the first time. He was also convicted of battery. And that's huge. We're going to have public officials, you know, in office. You know, we need to make sure that these people are vetted and that they love America first. Thank you so much for tuning in. That concludes our show. I appreciate it. I hope you guys like, share, and subscribe and like the content. Thank you so much and have a blessed day.